me. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
It was one of those rare moments when Donald Trump let his guard down, standing inside Air Force One, fielding rapid-fire questions from the press about some of the most defining issues of our time: trade wars, global conflicts, and America's place in a shifting world. Cameras rolled as the former president, appearing both confident and combative, made it clear that he was ready to set the tone for what comes next. The roar of the engines outside almost matched the intensity of his words. And this time, it wasn't a campaign rally. It was Trump, surrounded by reporters, facing questions about the economy, tariffs, and his growing influence in America's future head-on. The air felt heavy with anticipation. Trump wasn't dodging questions. He was owning them. If we don't have tariffs, he said firmly, we don't have national security. That one line summed up the moment.
There's no final straw. Sometimes you have to let it fight out. They're fighting it out. It's been a tough war for Putin. He's lost a lot of soldiers, maybe 1 million. That's a lot of soldiers. And it's been tough for Ukraine. It's been tough for both. Sometimes you have to let it, just get bought out. We have, I've settled 8 wars. I thought that one would be easier than some of the ones we settled.
To him, tariffs weren't just about trade, they were about power, leverage, and control. As the Supreme Court prepared to decide on one of the most consequential economic cases in modern U.S. history, Trump stood his ground. Billions of dollars and decades of trade policy hung in the balance, and he wanted everyone to know this was his fight. He wasn't exaggerating. The Supreme Court's upcoming ruling could reshape how future presidents use tariffs as a weapon of national interest. Trump's administration had imposed steep duties on imports from China, Canada, and Mexico under claims of national security. Critics called it overreach. Supporters said it was strategic genius. Now, the justices would decide whether Trump had that authority in the first place or if Congress alone could hold that power. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the court ruled against him, the U.S. government might have to pay back billions in tariffs already collected. And if he won, it would cement his legacy as the man who rewrote the rules of global trade. Without tariffs, Trump repeated, the rest of the world would laugh at us. His tone wasn't defensive, it was defiant. You could see the fire in his eyes as he spoke about China, recalling how he used tariffs to force Beijing to the table in 2019. That was going to be a disaster for the world, he said, and I was able to settle it very quickly because I was able to use tariffs. Whether you agree or not, it was a reminder of how Trump views negotiation, not through diplomacy, but through dominance. And while he claimed he wouldn't attend the Supreme Court hearing to avoid stealing attention, he called the decision one of the most important in American history. It wasn't just about economics, it was about identity. To Trump, tariffs represent independence, a tool that separates America's strength from foreign manipulation. But to his critics, they represent chaos policies that destabilized trade and drove up consumer costs. The upcoming verdict could determine not only his economic philosophy, but also how much power any U.S. president can wield in the name of national security. As questions shifted, Trump's tone moved from confident to confrontational. He spoke about wars Ukraine, Russia, and Venezuela with the kind of bluntness that makes headlines and divides nations. Sometimes you have to let it fight out, he said about the ongoing war in Ukraine. It's been tough for both sides. Putin's lost maybe 1 million soldiers. That's a lot of soldiers. His words sparked immediate reaction, part skepticism, part shock. But Trump wasn't backing down. He framed the conflict as a test of endurance, not diplomacy. Sometimes, he said, you just have to let it burn out. When asked about Vladimir Putin directly, Trump walked a careful line acknowledging the brutality of the war while maintaining that negotiation might not be possible yet. It was classic Trump, positioning himself as the realist, the deal maker. The man who understands that peace doesn't always come from peace talks, it comes from power plays. The reporters pressed harder, moving to another global flashpoint: Venezuela. Would he authorize strikes against drug gangs or the regime itself? He smirked. "How can I answer that?" he said. "Would I tell you if we had plans for a strike?" It was a rhetorical flourish, designed to project mystery and control. "We have very secret plans," he teased, before turning his fire on the Biden administration. "Biden was the worst president in the history of our country. We had open borders, and Venezuela sent us prisoners, drug dealers, addicts, anyone they didn't want." This was vintage Trump mixing policy with provocation. He spoke not as a bystander, but as someone ready to take back the reins. To his audience, it was reassurance. To his opponents, it was a warning. His comments about migrants from prisons and mental institutions weren't just a jab, they were a direct attack on Biden's border policies, setting up a clear contrast: strength versus surrender. But there were moments of unexpected calm. When asked about NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, Trump softened, even smiled. "He's one of the great geniuses of our time," he said. "His chips are 10 years ahead of anyone else's." It was one of the few moments where Trump praised modern innovation without controversy, calling NVIDIA a great American company and promising not to share its advanced chip technology abroad. In an era of technological rivalry, it was a subtle yet powerful statement about keeping America first, not just in trade, but in tech supremacy. The conversation veered between global conflict, economics, and even the royal family. Reporters brought up Prince Andrew's scandal, and Trump perhaps unexpectedly showed empathy. "It's a terrible thing that's happened to the family," he said. "It's too bad. I feel badly for them." It was a rare glimpse of humanity in a press gaggle filled with hard politics and sharp edges. As the press conference continued, Trump circled back to what he called the fight of our generation, the right of the U.S. to use tariffs freely. "Other countries use tariffs against us all the time," he said, raising his voice. "If we weren't able to use them, we'd be in great jeopardy." Tariffs brought us national security. For Trump, tariffs weren't about punishing other nations. They were about protecting America's sovereignty. Economic health, he added, is national security. And in that moment, it was clear what he was trying to do. He wasn't just defending his record, he was reframing the narrative ahead of a major legal battle that could define his legacy. For him, the Supreme Court case wasn't just a test of legality, it was a test of leadership. If he won, it would validate his belief that America must act independently, without waiting for global approval. If he lost, it would limit presidential power for generations. As the engines of Air Force One began to hum louder, signaling the end of the exchange, Trump gave one final answer that summed up the day. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about our country." He smiled slightly, then added, "But I think they did a good job on 60 Minutes. We'll see how they cut it." It was the kind of offhand comment that captures who Trump is: part showman, part strategist, part wildcard. When the cameras stopped rolling, the weight of his words lingered. Trump had, once again, dominated the conversation whether you agreed with him or not. He touched every hot-button issue: tariffs, war, technology, immigration, and tied them all to one unshakable theme: American power. This was not a quiet flight home. It was a statement to the world. From the skies above, Trump reminded everyone that even out of office, he's still a defining force in American politics and global strategy. Every sentence, every deflection, every boast was deliberate. It wasn't about answering questions, it was about reclaiming the narrative. And that's where we leave it for now. The Supreme Court's decision on tariffs could redefine America's economic future, and Trump's comments aboard Air Force One have already reignited debate across Washington and beyond. Whether you support his approach or fear its consequences, one thing is certain: Donald Trump knows how to set the agenda. This is far from over. Stay tuned, because this story, like the man at its center, is still unfolding.